June 14th. I'm going to head over to a beech tree that I've never climbed before, but has definitely been on my radar for a few years now. It's a beautiful sunny morning, about 70 degrees, and we'll see if I can make it to the top. So I'm going to take a moment here, catch my breath, calm my nervous system down. That first part of the ascent was pretty intense. So I just wait until my breath settles, look at the rest of the climb, make a decision. So, turns out I made it. The second part of the climb, well, obviously the height creates a bit of intensity. Technically, it wasn't nearly as challenging. So I was very grateful for that, because that first descent up along that vertical branch is a bit intense. One thing when you're climbing vertical branches is that it's not just like a straight rope climb. The branch has very particular dynamics based on how it hangs from the tree and also the curves of the branch. So you sort of have to spiral up it to stay on what you also call the underside of it. Otherwise, there's a possibility to sort of swoop over one edge, which wouldn't necessarily mean falling, but you don't want to really have momentum when you're up that high. So that was quite intense. And then about 3/4 of the way through, there was, besides the vertical branch itself, there was nothing else to support me. So being alone, it's sort of like being in a barren tundra when you get to that part of a branch, whether it's a vertical or a horizontal branch, and you really just have to trust yourself at that point. So definitely a little bit of fast breathing, heart beating, legs a little bit shaky, but I was able to stay focused and make it to a safe sort of base camp. Stopping was really important, recovering my breath. I wasn't certain that I was going to complete the climb, and that's something that as I get older, for sure take with me into these more challenging climbs, that I'm going to trust myself to make a decision whether or not to complete it, not just at the beginning, but also midway through. Which isn't to say that when I start, I don't intend to make it to the top, but I let there be some flexibility based on the tree, my state of mind, weather conditions, any other factors. So anyway, I'm here at the top. There's a really nice breeze up. These beeches, the branches are incredibly strong and trustworthy, so one of my favorite parts of being at the top of a tree is the swaying of the canopy in the breeze. And I really haven't, I've been in strong trees on some pretty windy days, and I haven't ever felt like a branch was going to break. And if I did, I would definitely come down. So it's really nice. It indicates this very trusting relationship that I feel I need to have with the tree if I'm going to climb it. And what that relationship opens into is a really powerful experience of having climbed something, and then this very sublime experience of getting blown around in the wind while at the top of a tree, which is, I guess you could think of like the yang and the yin of tree climbing. So I didn't really have a metaphysical topic that I wanted to discuss. I sort of happened upon this morning with a little bit of free time, so decided to do this climb. I guess one thing I could talk about is the relationship that I develop with challenging climbs, specifically with trees, although I do some rock climbing and have some experience with that. But this tree in particular is really interesting because my relationship with it has definitely evolved. Has to do with not just myself, but other people. And I think there's some parallels that I could draw between being up at the top of this tree and the last few years of my life, without being too without stretching it too far, I guess. So I was aware of this tree for the first time probably in 2015, when I discovered this area, the horticultural center and Japanese house garden, which is this really incredible arboretum right in Philadelphia. And I was impressed by it visually. Oh, I got some friends. Hopefully you got to see those squirrels running up and down. They're really the best tree climbers. I mean, monkeys are really good, but squirrels got those claws. Anyway, um, yeah, so being impressed by it visually, but at that point I had never seen anybody go up a vertical branch. And I didn't really consider it to be a possibility, at least in any serious way. So just sort of appreciating the tree visually was the first step. And then in 2016, I attended a seminar here in this location with Rafe Kelly doing the Evolve Move Play method. And we were just walking around the area and he pointed it out, and I believe he climbed part of it. And that was the first time I saw someone do a vertical climb like that, and it kind of blew my mind. But I was really way too intimidated, so I didn't even attempt it. So we finished the seminar. Over the course of that year, I found several other trees that included that feature, and was able to get to the canopy of a few of them. One quite challenging one, which is located a little bit more towards the art museum area, with a long vertical climb and then a traverse across a horizontal branch, which is also pretty intimidating. So I got some confidence with it and some technical ability doing it. Yeah, and then last year, Rafe came again. He and my good friend Brett Shannon, who I also train parkour and climb trees with, climbed, I don't think it was this beech, but they climbed another pretty intense beech tree, which I wasn't able to be there for. But I saw some video of it and I heard about it, and that was a very motivating factor. And then today, really, the other thing with these challenging climbs is there's an element of intuition about it. And so I have to really make sure I'm not getting too bullheaded or ambitious. When it comes to doing climbs like this, because really the call has to be there, and the connection to the tree has to be there. Without that, even if I did get to the top, the satisfaction would pale in comparison to when really the time is right and the feeling is right. So this morning is really a perfect morning. I got to the Arboretum around 6:20, practiced for about 45 minutes, my morning yoga practice. And at the end of the practice, I just knew that it was time. So walked over, planned my route, and came right up. So, it's a tree. I climbed it. What does it have to do with my life and other things? Well, I think the one magical tool that this draws upon is our ability as people to relate to physical obstacles as symbols, and in doing so reorient our relationship with more abstract elements of our life. And a climb has a lot of symbolism. It has to do with success, growth, fearlessness, independence, and I think what it means to me, I guess I'll put it that way, what it means to me right now to have climbed this tree is that when I feel the call to something, I know that it's time to go. And when the call is there and it's clear that I'm being called to do something, there's no point in hesitating and delaying it and doubting myself. Now, hesitation and doubt and analysis certainly are necessary throughout the process, just like when I was climbing, I had to take a few moments. There are a few stages in the climb where I had to reassess what was happening, to calm myself down, to plan out my routes. But I think what is significant in this moment is the experience of deciding to do it when the call is there. And that means a lot to me because my life right now requires decisiveness and requires action. And to have had an experience like this to restore and renew my confidence in my own decisiveness is incredibly valuable. So that's how it relates. All right, I'm going to turn the camera off, enjoy a few moments of peace up here, and I'll turn it back on for the descent.